What's up, Shelf Addicts? Welcome back to the Shelf Addiction Podcast. Today on Book Chat, we are returning to the world of the Night Huntress series featuring fan favorite couple, Cat and Bones. Stay tuned. Today's episode is sponsored by the book A New Renaissance, a celebration of African American fiction by Rhonda M. Lawson, and the Mocha Girls Read Book Club. 12 authors have joined forces to honor the trailblazers of the Harlem Renaissance with A New Renaissance. This beautifully written collection of original fiction ranging from children's to contemporary, both by new and established authors, will make you laugh, cry, and even shout out loud. But most of all, it will make you proud that the griot tradition lives on and is here to stay. If you've been around the podcast for a while, you guys know I love a book that will make me react audibly. This sounds like it's sure to do that. Check out A New Renaissance, a celebration of African American fiction, available now on Kindle and in paperback on Amazon. Learn more about this title by visiting mochagirlsread.com and also pick up a copy on Amazon. The link is in the show notes. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and welcome to Book Chat here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast. Participate in this discussion by joining the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official. I hope to hear your thoughts on today's topic. You can always find me and Casey on Twitter and Instagram. The links for everything I've mentioned are below in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with some book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. That would really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing so. The uncut video version of this podcast is available now on Patreon. Join us there for exclusive videos, including after shows and more. So if you're interested in that at all, you'll need to come on over to Patreon and sign up. Without further ado, let's get started. Today we have a special episode. After a long time away, we are returning to the world of Cat and Bones.
Yay!
Yay! Joining me is my fantasy series co-host, Casey from Heartful of Ink. Welcome back, Casey.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yay, me too. I'm so excited for this because it's been a while since we've read Cat and Bones on the podcast. So
yes, but we loved it. So
yes.
Yay, we're back.
It's a party. Okay, so it's also a special occasion today because we are talking about two stories, not just one.
Yay.
You get two for one. That's also something we rarely ever do. I think this might be the first time.
I think so.
Yeah. So fun times are ahead, guys. Get excited.
Yay.
First up is the novella A Grave Girl's Getaway, originally independently published July 1st, 2021. And the audio was published by Blackstone Audio. The novella was also a part of an anthology called Hex on the Beach. And that is where you can find it if you don't want to buy it separately. And the audiobook was narrated by the fabulous Tavia Gilbert. As always, she does all of these books. So the Kindle version is 100 pages. The unabridged runtime is 2 hours and 52 minutes. But let me just say, it took me a little over an hour to actually read it. So it's a better deal to get it on Kindle and read it
yes.
than have to speed up 2 hours and 52 minutes for like a lot more money.
Yeah.
It's a better deal. So this is, I guess, book 7.6, I guess is what Goodreads is saying. It's like a story in between two stories.
Yes.
I don't know. It's just a side blurb after the fact. After everything's said and done, Here we are. So, Casey, will you hit us with the synopsis so we know what we're going to be talking about?
I will. Vampire Cat Caulfield Russell is looking forward to a little downtime with her best friend Denise. But when witches crash the party, a fun getaway turns into a paranormal showdown. Vampire Cat Caulfield is experiencing a new role as a mother. Turns out trying to manage a perfect domestic life for her daughter is more challenging than Cat ever imagined. Since things have finally quieted down in the undead world, her husband Bones suggests that Cat recharge by spending a girls-only getaway with her best friend Denise. Cat and Denise intend to spend the week doing nothing more than dancing, drinking, and sightseeing. Unfortunately, they stumble across a deadly summer solstice ritual performed by powerful witches who have no intention of letting their uninvited guests live to reveal what they saw. Will the girls' only getaway turn into turn out to be the last vacation ever for Kat and Denise. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, God. So I have to admit, I barely read the synopsis. I barely read it. I just said, okay, we're going to read it. So I just jumped right on in.
I didn't read it at all. I was like, new Cat, give it to me. I want it.
Yeah. So when I started listening, I'm like, okay, reading, excuse me. I'm so used to listening. Reading, I'm like, okay, it's great. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is horrible. It's a horrible vacation. It turned bad really fast. I'm like, oh no, typical Cat. Like, let me go find the worst case scenario and jump right in.
Of course. Because anytime she's anywhere, bad stuff just happens.
Yeah.
And of course, she's walking along the beach with Denise and she smells blood. And she's like, oh, gotta go investigate. What do you know? There's a whole bunch of witches trying to kill a teenager. And she's like, I can't sit back and watch this happen. Yeah. I gotta go, insert myself into this little ritual and stop it.
Yeah. She's like, I can't let you do this. Like, why can't you just be like normal people and get like killers and
grab a pedophile and kill
pedophiles? Like, why don't you get those people? Why do you have to get this kid? And I'm like, yeah, good point.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
And the funny thing was, some of the witches were like, yeah, that's what we want. We want to kill pedophiles. And the other witches were like, no, we have to stick to the old ways and kill teenagers.
Oh my gosh. Well, one of the things I did really enjoy about this is that we got to see, I thought for a minute we were going to see Ian and Veritas. I really thought it was going to happen, but it didn't happen. But we did get to see Veritas' half-brother. Mm-hmm. What's his name? Ashiel? I don't know. It's escaping me, and I don't have my Kindle. But he's like full on demon, or half demon and half celestial, angel, something. He's got some weird combo going. Did you read the Ian and Veritas books yet?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
So this is all spoilers.
Okay.
But well, like the short story spoiled it anyway. But no, okay. I realized I keep saying I'm going to read Ian's story or trilogy now, and I just haven't. And so now I'm more inspired to go read it.
Yeah, because this is definitely like gonna spoil a little bit about that series if you haven't read it. But I thought it was cool.
I didn't guess. They're off on their honeymoon. So yeah, sure.
You're like, oh yeah, so they get together after all. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. Didn't see that coming.
I know, right? But I think I like, of all the little spin-off ones, I thought like Ian and Veritas books best of all the other little ones, like better than Vlad's.
Right now, Vlad is my favorite, but since I haven't read Ian, I don't think that's fair for him. So I'll read Ian and then come back and tell you who I like more.
Yes, okay. Because I think I like that more because I think the heroine is the most badass of everyone without telling all her business. She is the baddest bitch ever, so to speak. I'm like, yes, girl. So that is why I thought it was really exciting to see her brother pop up here. I'm like, oh, he is like really helpful, but he fits the group. Like, he's helpful, but in his own way. So of course he's got his own quirks, right? But without him, they would have died. So,
oh, absolutely, yeah. No, they were hexed and cursed, and Kat literally could not move. Denise was only partially able to move because she's, part demon. So she called this other demon friend to come save them, and he had to laugh. And Kat and Denise both said, don't tell our husbands. Don't tell them anything. Don't do it. We're just going to do this on our own because it's the girls' trip. And, if the men come close to us for more than, 5 minutes, they'll be cursed too.
Mm-hmm.
But does he listen to them?
Of course not.
Obviously not.
Of course not. No.
So but Bones and Spade have to show up at the very end.
I know. And I kind of wish that hadn't happened because I wanted them to save themselves, and they kind of did, but they had help. I wanted them to save themselves.
Yes. But I don't think it would be a true Cat book if Bones didn't show up.
he could show up after everybody was dead and be like, what happened? Why you didn't tell me? He could have read her the riot act and I would have loved that. I don't know. That's just me nitpicking, I guess. Because
that's okay. Nitpick away.
Because honestly, Denise has done more in this book, I feel like, she's done some stuff in other books, but she's always like secondary, she's always in the background.
She's very secondary. Even in her own book, she wasn't as powerful just because she didn't really know what her powers were. Mm-hmm. She's really grown into them over the past several books. And yeah, she did help out in some of Kat's books, but this time she really stepped it up. She was the one saving the day.
Yeah, and this shows us that Denise is a powerhouse. She may not be able to fly, she may not be a vamp, but she is able to, because she's a demon that can like transform into things. Mm-hmm. So she saved Kat's butt, like literally. And by we'll just say, we do spoilers on this show. Kat's like about to drown, but I guess she can just hold her breath. But of course, Denise is like, I'm not going to leave you in here. You wouldn't leave me in this cave underwater, dying again and again. So I'm going to help you. But you're heavy as hell. I can't do this because she's like dead weight. So what does she do? She transforms into a freaking shark, a big ass shark. And she bites her on the shoulder and drags her out the cave.
I thought that was hilarious. So, I was laughing so hard during that scene. Oh my God.
I'm like, what?
And I was like, why didn't she turn into something like an octopus? I know the suction cups are bad, but with the tentacles, you could just carry a cat and not, chew her shoulder off with shark teeth.
Well, I don't know how octopuses go as far as speed, but sharks are fast.
But did they really need the speed, or I don't know.
Maybe she felt it was urgent, so I don't know.
Possibly. I don't know.
At that point, she didn't know what was wrong with Kat, right?
Yeah, no. She just knew Kat could not move, couldn't do anything, couldn't save herself. And so Denise was like, well, I guess I'll just change myself into a shark and save us both.
And she does that. And she gets them all the way back to their hotel room. So she changes back, drags her ass to the hotel room. And she's like trying to help her. And then, Kat says something about like, the bite and can't you do something better or something next time? And she's like, well, I'm trying to be nice, but I want to brush my teeth, right?
Because like,
I've got your really blood and like flesh in my mouth. So I'm like, girl, you don't think of those things. But that's when you change back. If you had that in your mouth before, it would be in your mouth now.
Still be in your mouth now. Yep.
You'd have to be a really best friend. A really best friend.
Which they are.
They are. Because that's disgusting. I'm like, oh, poor Denise.
Poor Denise.
I know. But it ended up being like this really crazy thing where they, she couldn't move or talk, like total paralysis. Unless, of course, demon blood. Demon blood fixes all.
Demon blood. Yes.
But demon blood, and I forgot this, demon blood makes vampires extremely high.
Yes.
Like drunk and high, like a drunk high combo.
Oh, yeah.
Times 1,000.
So they are crazy.
Yes. So he shows up again, gives her some blood. Hey, I'll help you. Within this small parameter, because I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't break rules, but I can help you do this. And she's hilarious as she is like trying to drink more of his blood and sneak up on him and try to hug him and bite him and stuff. Like, lady,
and she's drunk off her ass.
Yeah.
And so she wants to start fighting the floor and punching the floor because she's just like, the floor is so mean to me, so I'm going to punch it.
I mean, only Janine Frost can write such comedy.
Yes.
Like in this kind of story. Like you'd think it would be all, oh my gosh, suspenseful. And it is, but it's funny. It's funny.
It's freaking hilarious. I think I laughed more during this short story than I did during like any other humor book that I've read recently. Like this is why I love Janine Frost, because this has every element. Even though it's a short story, there's the romance between her and Bones that does pop up a bit. She has all the drama about being a mother, but at the same time, you're still sitting here laughing because she's punching the floor and her best friend turns into a shark and drags her out of a cave.
I know.
And like there was just so much packed into the story, and I loved it.
Later, she turns into a dragon and she's like killing witches left and right. I'm like, whoa. I mean, Denise is a powerhouse. Like, if she wants to.
She is.
Yeah.
I almost wish we could get more books about Denise and Spade in the future. Now that Denise is more, you know, comfortable in her power, so to speak. I'd love to see them take on some really heavy hitters together.
Yeah, I think that could be fun. And especially since she's going to do what she wants to do anyway, despite what, you know, Spade says. Like at the end there, Kat's like, should we do this again next year? He goes, oh, no, over my dead body or something, he says. And she's like, okay, yeah, next year I'll pick where we go. So she's like, whatever, we're going to go. Just
we're
calm your ass down.
Whatever, dude.
Yeah.
There's more dead bodies. We'll figure it out.
I know. And they do save themselves. And they have, I mean, that's a horrible little weekend getaway, though. I must admit, that's not the kind of getaway I like, but.
No. And it works for Kat and Denise. Yeah. Like they never really got their own adventure during this whole series. You know, Kat saved Denise because Denise is being chewed on by a vampire back when she was hiding from Bones between book 1 and book 2. So,
yeah,
6 books ago. And Denise has kind of been there in the background as a friend, very human. Then she got her own book and we find out she's not fully human, but still. She helped a little, but she never got her own real spotlight. And the fact that the two of them got this adventure together was so much fun. I love it.
Yeah, and actually I kind of thought of Denise as like, oh, let me just scoop in and save. Like, let me do the part at the end where, like, for example, she, when they were trying to save her kid, like Denise was like, looking like her, right? She went and did that whole switcheroo thing.
Yes.
So I'm like, she comes in and does like a little bit, and then she goes back into the shadows. I'm like, no. So this was actually really good to have her step out and kind of show what she's worth. And I would love to see more of her. Like if somehow we get more books in the future of this, I would love to see, or even have her appear in other series with Spade in other ways, you know?
Oh, yeah. No, I'd love for Denise and Spade to get their own books, more of their own books. Or, yeah, showing up in other people's books like this and kicking ass.
Yes, I loved it. I did love it. And I did like seeing Kat as a mom, although I kind of, you know me and babies, right? Me and babies. So like the one part where, you know, Denise is like, oh, we're going to try to adopt. They have this whole conversation about her being a mom. I'm like, okay, I guess fine. But can we please have some characters that are childless and happy about it? Shit, like, does everybody need to have a kid? Like, that bothers me a little bit. I'm like, why?
It's such a trope that I'm over. Yeah. Like you, I'm child-free. I'm happy. No kids for me. No, thank you. I mean, maybe I would adopt someday, but, you know, when I'm in my late 40s and I want to adopt teenagers, like no babies, no diapers, none of that. No, thank you.
Yeah, it's just so annoying.
And I want to see a lot more characters like that. Please give me more child-free characters.
Yeah, and that's what Denise was, and she was great. And then she had to go mess it up with that. I'm like, what? So now she can be happy. Now she can go off and be happy because she's decided to adopt a child.
Yeah.
So, so of course it wasn't perfection, nowhere near. But like I said, I did like seeing Kat as a mother. She kind of was reminiscent of her own mother, like in her approach with her daughter.
Yeah, her own upbringing was really, really difficult, as we see again in the other half of the grave. But seeing Kat with her daughter was okay.
It did. You know what? It's like, I said this before. Kat should never had a daughter. She shouldn't have. None of these people need children. just because of the things that they do, the trouble that finds them on a regular basis. And I thought I could give it a pass because this daughter was like a unique daughter. She was weaponized, right? Like she wasn't an infant around them or a toddler around them. No. But it's still,
she's 7, but looks much older.
Yeah. Yeah, or 9 or something. There was something about she was 7 when they found her, but I think she's a little older now, like 9 or something.
Yeah, because it's been a few years since the end of the last book. So she's a little bit, but she looks like a teenager, right? Like she looks older. I think there was a line about how she looked older. Anyway, she's a child. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So enough with the babies, y'all. Babies are great. Babies are fun. I love babies. They're so cute. But dang, can I just leave some series without them? It's okay.
Please.
It's okay. Yeah. Okay, so I think, do you want to rate the book? You want to rate the novella?
Let's do it.
All right. How about you go first?
All right. I give it a 5-star because I loved it. I was laughing so hard. Denise turning into the shark and turning into the dragon, the girls going on this adventure together. I wish it was a little bit longer. Like they dived in a little bit more into the witches and who they were and what they were doing. Like the one witch said she was Morgana and they said she'd been around for over 400 years. So are you trying to insinuate that is the Morgana who was with King Arthur? Or is this just a woman trying to pretend like she has some... Anyway, like I would have liked a little bit more about the witches.
Yeah.
But overall, this was hilarious and adorable and I loved it.
Yeah.
So 5 stars.
All right. So for me, I went with 4 stars. I think I was actually more at 3, but I decided to up it a little bit just because of nostalgia's sake. I did like, the witch toward the end who kind of agreed to say, hey, we're going to tell you if we come across some covens that aren't going to agree to these new terms. So I think maybe she might show up again. It seems like she may be a new character. I thought that was interesting, that possible new character, maybe.
I hope so.
And I like the scenes with, just the two of them together, Denise and Kat. They're fun. They're fun to read. And I like the vibe. So overall, 4 out of 5.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to talk about the other book that just came out. We're going to talk about The Other Half of the Grave when we come back. Check out the commercials, listening to those. You support the show. And also feel free to check out the book review blog, the book review journal and notebook available on the Amazon now. We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. All right, guys, welcome back. Next up is The Other Half of the Grave. Book 1 in the series, told by Bones' point of view. So technically it's book 1.1, I guess you'd say. It was published April 26, 2022 by NYLA and Blackstone Audio. The audiobook is narrated by the sexy voice of Will M. Watts. That's a different narrator.
Yes.
For these books. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. The Kindle version is 427 pages and the unabridged audio runtime is 13 hours and 13 minutes. Casey, would you please share the synopsis?
I can. From the New York Times best-selling author of the Night Huntress series comes a thrilling new look at the iconic origin story of Cat and Bones, as experienced by Bones, from the other half of the grave. There are 2 sides to every story, and the sizzling British alpha vampire Bones has a lot to say. Ever wondered what Bones was thinking and feeling when he and half-vampire Cat Caulfield first met, or how their story might differ if he were the one telling it? now relive the beginning of Kat and Bones' best-selling love story through Bones' point of view, which reveals a darker, sexier take on their early days, as well as a deeper dive into Bones' past, the vampire world, and other things that Kat didn't see when their story was told only through her eyes, in Halfway to the Grave. Kat had her say. Now it's Bones' turn.
All right. So, first off, let me just say, I was very nervous about this because a lot of the times when you get the same story from a different point of view, it feels like the same story. Exactly.
Yes.
But luckily for us, it wasn't exactly the same story. We got to see more insight into like his psyche and what he's like, side conversations that were off the page before we took part in this time.
Yes.
And I think this book actually made Bones more likable.
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. Yes. Yeah. I had a thought and then I just lost it. I'm sorry.
It'll come back.
It'll come back. That just went right out my brain. Oh God. No, this was a really good book. Janine Frost started putting the chapters up on her blog like 2 or 3 years ago. And to be honest, I did not read those because I was nervous. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it or not. And I didn't want to ruin the story for myself, if that makes sense. So like you, I was a little hesitant to read this book. But actually reading it just made me so happy. And yes, it made Bones so much better, in my opinion.
Yes. So like seeing that infamous scene where they're fighting each other in the cave, that had a totally different flavor from his point of view.
Oh, absolutely. Was terrified. And he's like, well, I don't want to hit women, so I'm going to slap her a little bit. I'm going to slap her a little harder, even though I don't like this.
I don't like doing this, but what am I supposed to do? I have to do something, you know.
I got to scare her, so I'm just going to slap her. I'm like, I don't like the slapping, but I understand. And I know this is a love story, so.
He can't cold cock her, like he can't do that. So what else could he do?
But I love the fact, like, even though we know it was love at first sight for him, like, we know that. He's said it throughout the series, but just seeing it from his point of view, where she's chained up, and he's like, what is this feeling in my heart? Oh my God, it's love. I'm in love with this woman. And I have to slap her and scare her, but oh man, I'm in love. Oh, this is good.
He even calls, I think it was Spade. Didn't he call Spade? And he was like, dude, and he's like, wait, what? What's happening? Like, he's confused for a minute. And then he's like, wait, but she doesn't she hates you? I don't understand. I'm like, oh.
The best part of that conversation was Spade was, casually driving his car. And then he also he's like, I just ran my car off the road. Now that I'm safely parked in this ditch, tell me about this woman you love.
Yes,
tell me everything.
All the things. It was funny. It was really cute. It was like,
it was so cute.
Yeah.
Like that scene alone, even though it was just a little bit of dialogue, was worth it. Like that was so cute. And yes, I love that part.
Yeah, honestly, I liked everything about it. And I listened to these books originally on audiobook. And of course, Tavia Gilbert is the queen of these books. She makes Kat's voice come to life. But hearing this other guy, hearing Will, what was his name? What did I say his name was? Will. What? Will Watts. Will M. Watts. When I first heard Bones' voice, I was like, oh shit. Oh shit. Like, it's a different experience. Like, because when you hear a man's point of view through a woman's voice, it's not the same. And then when you hear this bona fide masculine voice with a slight accent, I'm like, wow, this is Bones. I'm like, I never want Tavia to speak for Bones again. I'd rather him and her work together in concert than I can never forget this now. So thankfully there will be more, because I need to listen to his voice over again. out. And I encourage y'all, if y'all, even if you don't listen to, well, it might not affect you if you don't listen to audiobooks, but if you've listened to all of these in Tavia's voice, to hear this from Will's voice, it's startling and it jars you. And you're like, oh, what's this? What's happening? It's a completely different experience, let alone the content is different. So I can't say enough about the narrator. He did a really good job.
I need to listen to him. I ended up downloading the book, but I thought about getting the audiobook, but I downloaded it because I'm just so used to doing that. But when you keep talking about him, I'm like, okay, yeah, I need to get this audiobook and listen to it.
Yeah, because from Tavia's voice, he sounds... it sounds wrong now. You know what I mean?
Sense. Yep.
So now that I've heard it this way, I don't want to hear it the other way ever again.
That makes sense.
But she did a good job, though. She did a good job, but I love it this way. So, and I think that just intensified the experience for me. So definitely, I would recommend audiobook, especially if you check the other ones out on audio. But I know when you read it, you've created the voices in your head already. So just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. No, it in my own head, his voice does sound different because we're steeped inside his psyche. We know exactly what he's thinking when he sees Kat. We know exactly how hard all of the jealous rage is for him in a way we didn't before, because Kat was so bigoted and, anti-vampire everything. And we're seeing Bones, who instantly looks at this woman and says, this is it. I'm in love with you. And just does everything he possibly can to make her love him. And when we read that from her point of view, it was more like, okay, so here's this really hot vampire guy who's being nice. We don't really know what's going on in his head, but eventually he says, I love you. But she doesn't believe it. And it takes her basically the entire book before she believes it.
Yeah.
And then, it's too late. But for him, it was right from the very beginning, and seeing that, it was adorable and I loved it.
Yeah. And seeing how his feelings about her self-hatred, basically, it's like he was really trying to help her work through that because...
Oh, yeah. Because he didn't like it. And he knew if she kept hating the vampire side of herself, she would continue to hate him. And he didn't want that. No.
And then after they got together, the scenes were hilarious. So after they got together, remember when she had her apartment and she had the neighbor,
Timmy.
Now, yes, in the original book, Bones was very jealous of Timmy, but to see it from his point of view, it was so funny. He was going to murder Timmy.
Yes. He's like, nope, this little fucker's dead. This is it.
I'm like, oh my God, this is so freaking funny to me. I don't know. I really liked the different change. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
I also liked that the author has updated it. And by what I mean is, hey, Bones is ordering food on Uber Eats.
Yes.
They're using different cell phones. He's done other, they're talking about other things that are present day, right? So the whole thing got updated a little bit.
In the original one that came out in 2006, 2007, Kat didn't have a cell phone, which is kind of typical for back then. And Bones had a beeper. Which right. I know what a beeper is. I'm a millennial and I know a beeper. But yeah, no, I was really glad when it got that updated, so it wasn't, taking every single detail, everything the same.
Yeah. Which I think made it easier to digest because it had those updates and it was naturally in there. But I noticed it because I knew, we know the story is.
Yeah. We've read that first book how many times?
I know, a lot of times. So, wow, look at this. Look at him being all 2020, or whatever.
Yeah.
That's fun. I love it.
It was so good.
Yeah.
So the first half of the book was really good and it felt very new and very different. But for me, I guess like about halfway through the book, it stopped feeling like Bones' story and kind of just felt like we were rehashing Kat's story, like her specific scenes, just from his point of view.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Like it wasn't bad, but it was more just like, okay, so these are the scenes that were in Kat's books, and this is what we're getting from his point of view. Like with Timmy, that was more impactful from Kat's point of view because she just moved there and was making a friend, and he was like her first friend. But when Bones shows up, yes, it's funny, but it felt like we were only really seeing that because it was from the other book.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to explain it other than that, where it just kind of felt like, yeah, for the last half of the book, we were just seeing these specific scenes from his point of view because they were in her point of view. Like we weren't getting a lot of new content. Seeing Bones call Ted, that was new, but there wasn't a lot of other new stuff.
Well, I think that's because for most of that part in the back half, I'm just guessing, but they were always together, seemed like, for most of that. Like
they were, but there was a lot of time jumps. He had this like one throwaway line about, oh yeah, I've been stalking this mayor for the last 9 days, but he's boring and nothing's happening. So I'm going to go do this thing. And
we could have been with him while he was doing that.
It would have been boring. Like, I'm not going to lie that if the mayor was boring, we would have been bored to tears. Don't add new stuff just to make it new. But it just, I don't know, like in the beginning, it felt like we were learning all this new stuff about Bones. Like, especially when he was calling his best friend to be like, yo, man, I'm in love.
Yeah.
Like that was new and exciting. But after that, it just kind of, it wasn't bad. This is me just kind of nitpicking it where I'm like, I wish we got a little bit more. Like, I wish I got to see more of Bones's life and what he was doing when Kat wasn't around. Because in her book, we got to see all of her anxiety, her fears, her worries about what he was doing, what she should do. You know, she had so much growth. And I don't know, this seemed like he just changed the beginning and then almost got stagnant.
Well, that's dangerous because if she's going to write book 2.1, right, she's going to do that, then she needs to be careful of not letting that happen. Like, I don't think it stood out as much to me, but after you pointed out, yeah, I guess it wasn't as unique on the back half of the book.
Yeah. And I mean, book 2 is a lot different. He's very angry because she left him for 4 years. And we got a little taste of that in the epilogue where he finally finds her. But
at the wedding from the opposite point of view, though, yes, like he's like,
be good.
He is there waiting on her ass. Like, okay, it wasn't, obviously we knew it wasn't a surprise, but the idea of him like kind of fuming and trying to like conceal his emotions so that no one she couldn't pick up that he was there.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God. She walks down the aisle and he's looking at her. She got this look on her face like, fuck.
And she's like, oh my God. I can't run away because I'm in the middle of this wedding.
That was awesome. Like, I liked that wedding scene. I was like, well, he came for you, girl.
Oh, yes.
He said he would. Which was wild. She hid from him pretty well for a long time.
And it was fate that brought them together. His loneliness and a friendship with a random human he met at a bar brought him back to her.
Yeah, that is so funny. It's like all the things. Like I think part of it is just nostalgia, right? Nostalgia for the series overall.
Oh, absolutely.
I hadn't read it in a long time since we read it here on the podcast. I don't know how many years ago now. It's been a while.
2 years, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know.
Time is meaningless.
I know.
I don't know what time it is now.
Yeah, I hear you. But I think it was a good effort. It's almost like I don't want to go over point by point because we've done that We've done it.
Yeah. We've talked about the whole plot. We've talked about the character arcs in the first book. And I mean, I love this. This was amazing and adorable. And I fell for Bones a lot harder in his point of view in those first few chapters, just because, you know, he fell in love instantly. And really seeing that made me fall for him a whole lot faster.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wish there had been more unique Bones in the second half of the book. And I'm really hoping, you know, book 2, when she writes it, there will be more unique Bones stuff, because he'll be surprised at the wedding. I'm really mad at you. You need to beg for forgiveness. Oh shit, here's the government. Oh shit, here's Tate. I can't wait to see Bones meet Tate, because he will hate him and I will be validated.
He hates his guts.
Oh, I hate Tate so much. I want to read that.
Yeah.
That will make me happy. So I think, yeah, as long as Janine Frost keeps writing from Bones' point of view, I'm going to read it, because I love it and adore it. And it's very nostalgic. And it does give new insight into this world. But at the same time, I do wish she would write new stuff. Like we said earlier in this very podcast, I would love to see more of Denise and Spade.
Yes.
I would love to see more of Vlad. Vlad is my favorite right now.
Yes.
I know I need to read Ian's trilogy that I keep saying I'm going to do, and just haven't done it.
To be fair, Ian is the worst. Like in this series, it's like, F you, Ian, you always doing something ignorant. Like, you know what I mean? He's always that person in this series. So to see him in a different light is very, very different. But for those of you that are listening that are brand new to this series and you haven't read it, I feel like you could start here. If she's going to redo all these books, I feel like you could.
I don't know.
I think
you could, but I feel like you would get a better impact if you read it from Kat's point of view first.
Okay, so just based off what you just said, and if I went back thinking about reading Kat's book and then reading this book, it would feel like I'm reading the same book back to back.
Probably, yes.
I guess it just depends on whose point of view you want, I guess. But this, like you did make a good point. The stories are very similar. They are very, very similar.
Yes, they
content,
are.
But not enough to say this is a different book. It's the same book.
It's the same book. But Kat's point of view, just, again, I haven't read it since we talked about it however many years ago it was, but I have read that book several times. But I just, thinking about it right now, I feel like Kat's point of view had a little more detail with the plot. And, you know, like, spoiler alert at the end, when she goes off and kills the governor, we know that wasn't her just running off on her own the way Bones thinks it was. We know that was her being controlled by the government before getting shipped off to her new team and whatnot. It just... So it's different enough that you could probably read it, but I don't know if you'd want to read it back to back. At the same time, I feel... I don't know. I
so
think
if they had to
Kat's
choose,
first.
You think they should just read Kat's book?
I think so. Like, I love Bones. I do. Don't get me wrong. And I love this book. But there was a lot of nostalgia for me with this book, and just loving Bones' point of view and seeing him fall for her like that. Like,
you know, and honestly, maybe my opinion is also because I have a lot of knowledge already. So I would love to see or hear from someone who maybe has read this book, but not the others. Is there anyone, or is it just the fans? Are the fans the only people reading this book?
I don't know. I mean, she has a lot of fans, and this book went straight to the USA Today bestseller list like week one it was published. Yeah. So the fans are here. The fans love Bones. We want this. I don't know if anybody new is reading it.
Because to me, that would say more if new people were reading it and enjoying it versus just people who already had a connection to the story and the characters. Like, I would love to hear a point of view of someone who isn't already neck deep into this world already. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if it's only fans reading it, I don't know.
You probably could pick this up and fall in love with this story. And I don't know. I feel like there's a lot you're missing from her point of view, especially with her changing. Because she, again, Bones was trying to help her overcome her bigotry over vampires and her self-hatred and all of the shit her mother put her through. Like, there was so much of that.
But the thing is, I guess my question then becomes, if you don't know what you're missing, do you miss it? You know what I'm saying? You know what they would be missing. But if someone was like, I want to try this, I feel like this is a much updated version.
Who could read it and love it and be content with it. Yeah. I just love Kat so much. Like, I love that
I like Kat too, but I don't know. I just really thought this was refreshing, I guess. Maybe it's just because I haven't read a lot of books from a man point of view lately, period. So maybe that also kind of lent to me like my enjoyment of it.
Yeah, makes it new, makes it different, makes it exciting.
So it's a man's point of view written for a woman. So by a woman, excuse me. So I think it has like maybe a lighter touch, maybe even a more sensitive touch. I don't know.
Probably. Like he's pretty emotional, and it is instant love. Like,
insta love to like the 1000th degree. Yes. Yeah. But he does a good job hiding it, though.
He does.
He's not all, I love you, Kat. I just met you yesterday, but I love you. He's not doing that. So it's like that also makes it fun because like that would creep most people out. Like, why don't do that?
Oh, yeah, no. And it's him in his head like, oh, my God, she's so cute. I love her. But no, I have to hide this and say something snarky instead.
Yeah. Well, okay. I guess, I don't know. I guess there's not much else to say on it. What do you think?
I mean, I love this. I love this book. I love our discussions about all of the books in the series.
I do kind of want new material, though.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. Like, give me something new.
But I want new. Give me Denise and Spade. I know I'm on their kick right now, but give me more Denise and Spade.
I'd be okay with more Cat and Bones, but new material.
Yes.
Like, how about skip 5 years? Let the child be like an older teenager or something. And then see where Cat and Bones are as a couple then. I wouldn't hate it. I mean, I'd be curious to see how that goes. Now, supposedly, according to the novella, mixed breeds are allowed to be out, right? They've reinforced that. The author reinforced that in that book.
Mixed breeds are out. Magic is out.
Right. So you don't have to hide her anymore. Not really. But they have their own reasons for hiding her, but they don't have to, right? It's not like they will kidnap her and kill her. That's not happening anymore. No. So it would be fun to see a different story, like in the future, in a different place, in a different setting. I would love that. I guess we have to see if Janine Frost ever gets the bug to move forward or if she's going to stay in the past.
I hope so. Maybe, as she writes from his point of view, she'll be inspired for future stories. Even, when their daughter grows up and when she's a late teenager, early 20s, she can have her own adventure and her own story. Like, I would read that. That would be new and interesting and different.
And then get occasional help from her aunts and uncles.
Parents, her aunts and uncles.
Right. Her pseudo grandparents, as it will be when needed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because Kat was 21, 22 in this book. She was, if her daughter's 20, I would read that book.
Totally. So yeah, if anyone is listening that knows Janine Frost personally, drop that nugget in her ear. We would love to see a future story of Cat and Bones. Much further in the future. Skip some years, but you probably, if you want to keep writing in the whole universe as a whole, everyone would have to jump some years so you could keep the timeline consistent with all the different variations of this world.
I mean, she could write other stuff before jumping forward with Cat and Bones. Like, I know I'm stuck on them. I'm sorry, but Denise and Spade could get an adventure before they adopt a child. Or maybe the adoption is an adventure and they have to fight witches or something. I don't know. But like, give us something and then jump forward in time.
I don't want an adoption book. I don't. I'll be like, I don't want it.
I mean, like, it could be the happy epilogue at the very end. I want new stuff.
Yeah. So while this was a fun trip down memory lane, we want new stuff, basically. We agree.
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and rate the other half of the grave. How did she do?
Okay, so when I first finished, my instinct was to give it 5 stars. And I kind of still have that instinct, but also, it's the second half is just slow and it just feels like a rehash. So if I could give it 4.5 stars, I would do that. Like 4.5 is perfect. You're not going to let me do a half star, really. Okay, so I think I'm going to round down to a 4. Like, it was a fantastic story. I loved seeing it from Bo's point of view. It made me smile. It made me laugh. It made me fall in love with him faster. I just wish the second half of the book had been a little different and a little less rehashy and a little more like, this is what Bones' life is like. This is what he's doing. Mm-hmm. This is him hanging out in the cave all alone. Like, yeah. I just want a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
So a solid 4 stars.
Yeah.
It's great. Highly recommend to anybody who loves the series.
That's fair.
Anybody who's a fan of Janine Frost. Absolutely. 10 out of 10. Read it.
Okay.
It's just not perfect.
Okay. I gave it a 5 because my instinct when I closed the book was 5. I really had a fun time with it. I blew through it in like 2 sittings. It was so crazy. I just was like, just consumed it really quickly. And it was just a fun ride and it was down memory lane. So 5 out of 5. But I will say, I think that you will get more enjoyment out of it the further you are removed from the original 7 books. So like, let's say it's been a couple years since you've read them or 5 years or whatever. It's been a while. This would be a really nice way to like scratch that itch and you won't be, I think, maybe as nitpicky because it's been a while, right?
Yes.
But if you're brand new to the series and you just started this series, I definitely say hold off on this. Wait a long time. Don't go from 1 to 1.1. Don't do that. I would not recommend.
No, would not recommend that at all.
No. But definitely fans who haven't read this stuff in a while and you've been out of it for a while, jump right on in. The water's warm. It's cool.
It's great. It's fantastic. Yeah. It's Bones. You'll love it.
Yeah.
If you loved everything from Kat's point of view, even if you were like, I like it, but it's not quite right. Like if you gave it 3 stars or above, you will love this book.
Yes. You might even like it a little more depending on the kind of angle you
Kat
want.
Was a little bit of a bitch. Like she was not.
She was a little whiny at the beginning. So to have a little bit less of that. Yeah.
So, seeing it from his point of view, seeing how he handles that and how he's trying to help her, might make you like it more. Yeah. We concur. Yes. All right, guys. I think we're done for the day. What do you think, Casey? I think so. I love all of this.
Yes.
Janine Frost is amazing.
Yeah, it's been like a blast from the past. It's been a fun time. And get excited, y'all, because we have other, things coming that are blasts from the past. We're not going to tell you what it is, but there's other things coming along. So be sure to stay subscribed. Give us a like before you head on your way. And we will catch you guys in the next episode. Until then, take care of yourselves. Bye, guys.
Hey, everybody.
If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction Official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction Podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.